If you have home and auto insurance, there's a good chance they're bundled together with the same carrier. Maybe your agent set it up that way, maybe you saw the discount and it made sense at the time. And for a lot of people, that's the right call. But bundling isn't always the right call. And most people never revisit it, not because the answer wouldn't change, but because nobody told them it was worth asking the question again. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through what bundling actually does, when it works well, when it doesn't, and how to know whether your setup is still the best one for you. In case you don't know who I am, my name is Jim Eddington. I run an independent insurance agency called Western Pacific Insurance, and we help people with this all the time. So let's start with what bundling actually means, because the commercials make it sound more complicated than it is. Bundling just means buying more than one type of insurance from the same carrier. The most common combination is home and auto, but you can also bundle renter's insurance, a condo policy, an umbrella policy, a boat, a motorcycle. It depends on what the carrier offers. When you bundle, the carrier gives you what's called a multi-policy discount. That discount can be meaningful, but it varies a lot depending on the carrier, the state, and the types of policies you're combining. Some carriers apply the discount to both policies, others only apply it to one, and that's a detail most people never ask about. The important thing is not to let the discount distract you from the actual coverage. The NAIC, the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, and other consumer guides consistently say to compare both the coverage and the cost, not just the discount. The discount is real, but if it's pulling your attention away from what the policy actually covers, it's doing more harm than good. Now let's talk about why carriers offer bundling discounts in the first place, because understanding their side of it helps you make a better decision. J.D. Power published research showing that customers who bundle their insurance stay with their carrier for an average of about 7 years, compared to about 5.5 years for customers who don't bundle. Carriers know this. Bundling builds loyalty, and loyalty reduces their cost of doing business. They're not constantly acquiring new customers to replace the ones who leave. And honestly, that's not a bad thing. If you're with a carrier that handles claims well, treats you fairly at renewal, and offers coverage that fits your needs, staying for 7 years is a great outcome. Loyalty to a good carrier has real value. You build a history with them. Your agent knows your situation. You're not starting from scratch every year. The issue isn't loyalty. The issue is inertia. There's a difference between staying with a carrier because they've earned your business and staying because it feels like too much hassle to check. Most people just renew without thinking about it, bundled or not. That's understandable, but it means some people miss situations where a different setup would serve them better. So let's talk about when bundling actually makes sense, because there are real situations where it's the best move. The most obvious is when the same carrier is genuinely a good fit for both lines. They offer the right coverage for your home, they're strong on auto for your profile, and they have a track record of handling claims well. When that's the case, bundling is a no-brainer. You're with a carrier that fits, and the multi-policy discount is just a bonus on top of it. Coordination is another big one. When your home and auto are with the same carrier, it's easier to make sure your liability limits line up, especially if you add an umbrella policy. An umbrella sits on top of your auto and home liability, and when everything is with one carrier, the underlying limits and the umbrella requirements work together cleanly. It's still manageable when policies are split, especially with an independent agent overseeing everything, but it's smoother under one roof. And there's claim simplicity. If a single event damages your home and your car, a hailstorm, a tree falling across your driveway and onto your vehicle, you're dealing with one carrier and one claims process. Some carriers even offer a single deductible in that situation, meaning you pay one deductible instead of two, but that's a carrier-specific perk, not something you should assume comes with every bundle. And beyond the mechanics of those claims, there's something harder to put a number on: your experience with the carrier. If you've been through a claim and the carrier handled it well, that matters. If you know from experience that they pay fairly, communicate clearly, and don't drag things out, that's worth staying for. Price is important, but it's not the only thing. A carrier that saves you $200 a year but fights you on a $15,000 claim isn't actually saving you anything. And finally, There's just plain convenience. One bill, one renewal cycle, one login, one phone call if something goes wrong. For a lot of families, that simplicity has real value. Now, most of the time, bundling works out well, but there are situations where it doesn't. And I'm not talking about saving a few dollars a month. I'm talking about cases where one carrier is a great fit for one line and a bad fit for the other, and the difference is big enough to matter. The Insurance Information Institute, the III, points out that bundling doesn't guarantee the cheapest or best overall combination. Their guidance is simple: compare quotes both bundled and separately before deciding. Let me give you a real-world example. A carrier quotes you $2,500 for home and $3,500 for auto with a 15% multi-policy discount. That brings your total to around $5,100. But what if a different carrier charges you only $1,500 for auto with comparable coverage because your driving profile fits their model better? Now your total is $4,000. That's over $2,000 a year in difference. Even if you love your current carrier, even if they handle claims well and the service is great, $2,000 a year for comparable coverage is a gap worth knowing about. That kind of gap happens when a carrier is strong on one line but not the other. Maybe they're excellent at home insurance, but their auto rates are above average, or the reverse. In those cases, splitting across two carriers can make a real difference. And this is the part that really matters. Over time, carriers adjust their appetite. They raise rates in some areas, pull back from certain risks, change what endorsements they offer. If you're with a carrier that's still a great fit for your home but has shifted away from being competitive on auto, or the other way around, that's worth knowing. You want each line with a carrier that actually wants your business and will take care of you when it counts. So there are really two layers to this. There's the carrier layer. That's claims handling, pricing, the actual policy you're buying. And then there's the agency layer. That's service, advice, making sure your coverage fits your life. When both those layers are working well, that's when insurance feels like it's actually doing its job. At a captive agency where the agent works for one insurance company, those two layers are locked together. If the carrier is a great fit, the experience can be good. But if the carrier doesn't offer the right coverage for one of your lines or isn't competitive in your area, the agent is generally limited in what they can do. They don't have a roster of other carriers to turn to. An independent agency separates those two layers. We can move your auto to a different carrier without changing the fact that you're working with us. We can bundle you with one carrier when that makes sense, or split you across two when it doesn't, and either way, we're the ones managing all of it. Your agent still knows your situation, your limits still line up, and your coverage is still coordinated. The III makes this same point. Just because a company gives you a discount on combined home and auto doesn't mean that's automatically your best option. Sometimes a different combination of carriers gives you better coverage at a better price, but you won't know until someone runs that comparison, and that's exactly what we do. I made a whole separate video about what insurance brokers actually do and why that model works. I'll put a link to that at the end of this video, but the short version is this: when your agency works with multiple carriers, the bundling decision isn't just about price. It's about finding the right carrier for each line, the one with the best combination of pricing, coverage, claims handling, and service, and then making sure everything works together. So is bundling worth it? Usually, yes, when the carrier is a good fit on both lines and the coverage is right. The discount is a bonus, not the only reason to do it. For a lot of people, bundling is the right move. You get a real discount, your coverage is easier to manage, and when you're with a carrier that handles claims well, there's genuine value in staying put. But it's not something you should set and forget forever. The NAIC recommends reviewing your policies whenever your circumstances change. When you buy a home, add a vehicle, get married, add a teen driver. I'd add that it's worth having your agent review your setup every couple of years, even if nothing changed on your end, just to make sure your carriers are still the right fit for what you need. So what I'd encourage you to do is this: take your current declarations pages, that's the summary page of each of your policies, and bring them to an independent agent. Let us quote it both ways, bundled and split. If your current setup is the right one, we'll tell you. And if there's a better option, we'll show you exactly what it looks like. If you want help with that, there's a link below to get a quote with Western Pacific Insurance. We write coverage in Nevada, Arizona, Utah, and California. Bundling works. Just make sure it's working for you. Thanks for watching.